Let's get this defence sorted,
And
let's get these set pieces dealt with, and then because you can't all of a sudden go, right, everybody, when you do this,
I would use the term safe. Maybe his team selection has got to change. I'm a bit sick of seeing Polina and Bentancur.
He walked off down the tunnel, and then someone said in my ear, I don't know whether there's going to be a change. It looks like there's going to be a change. Then, can you make the announcement? He's not going to play. So how bad it is. I mean, I said, are Argentina playing home next week? That's I'm just kidding.
When we go out wide, the lack of options to go fully down the wing and try and get the ball in is becoming such a problem for Spurs.
Tell is a project for him.
Yeah.
You can see the fact he wouldn't be starting him if he didn't believe in it.
Harry needs to ring him every night, 7 p.m. Like, like we used to ring like your nan.
Yeah.
Like every night at 7 p.m. Tell.
Being a Spurs fan all my life, I had no idea what an emotional, almost religious experience it was going to be.
Hello and welcome to Inside Spurs, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet, talkSPORT's dedicated Spurs show, where we talk all things Tottenham Hotspur. My name's Majestic, and I'm joined by Sonny Snelling from Sonny Talk Spurs, and a big, huge welcome to literally the voice of Tottenham Hotspur. It's Mr. Paul Coyte, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so good to have you here, Coyte.
Well, it's nice to be here. Thank you for asking me. It's very kind that you asked. I don't get out much these days, Majestic, so it's nice that you've asked me and not standing there pouring with it. See, the thing is that's one. I love the new stadium, but where I stand, back in the old stadium, or White Hart Lane, the roof just used to cover me, whereas now, if I go out there.
The downpour.
The downpour, yes.
Well, it's so nice to have you because so many Spurs fans who absolutely love and adore you would have seen you so many times before the game, at half-time, and of course your career in broadcasting. But it's nice to have you on the show to talk all things Spurs. We'll get to some amazing stories that you'll have for us, I'm sure.
Please do not put the pressure on me because it's not going to live up to expectations, but I'll try my best.
No, I'm sure
it's
you
been
will.
a few years of it, yeah.
And Sonny, you've been away for a while as well, looking nice.
Yeah, I mean, I watched one game. I watched Tottenham Leeds, full of Leeds fans in the bar, so I was very able to go.
Is that all season, Sonny, or is that?
Oh no, that was just for
that's
Tottenham
just
Leeds.
right.
Yeah, so I'm not all the time watching the Leeds ads, and I missed the Bodo Glimt game because the cruise I was on just didn't have it on, so I didn't even see how we were that game. So.
I think I would have preferred the cruise myself.
Yeah, 2 weeks just switching off.
Yeah, with the Bodo Glimt,
nice,
you can let that one go.
Thinking of things that could have been, we could have went second in the Premier League yesterday. And we started off so well against Aston Villa that I was thinking, here we go.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon, let's get it done. I'm on later on with Pards on the final word. It's going to be a great evening. But no, it finished 2-1 to Aston Villa. Let's start with you, Sonny. Overall feelings, a missed opportunity?
I just feel like we get used to these sort of results, don't we? Because, you say there, we could have gone second, started off really strongly. The last game I was at was the Bournemouth game, and I thought we lacked, if we'd got that early goal in that game, we could have probably maybe killed it off and gone into the further game stronger. But it just was one of those games where you just leave a bit frustrated. And I think the problems I have is we're always going to compare this Spurs side to the Ange Postecoglou team. And we have gone from one extreme to the next. Like Ange Postecoglou, we've seen this weekend, obviously sacked by Nottingham Forest as well. He was so gung-ho, the attack was there, but the defence was really, poor. But now we've got quite a sure defence. But when it comes to our attack, I would use the term safe. A lot of our players are playing it safe in the sort of forward areas, not taking those risks. No one really taking the game by the scruff of the neck and, popping off shots from 30 yards, 20 yards outside the box. And I guess my one criticism of Frank, and I don't really want to criticise him this early, is maybe his team selection has got to change. I'm a bit sick of seeing Polina and Bentancur. I think Polina probably is the stronger. He's had a good start to the season.
Is that at home or generally, do you think?
I think at home. I feel like that lineup of having Polina and Bentancur is great for Anfield away or the Emirates, where you may be looking for a draw at this stage of this Spurs, side's life. But when you're at home against an Aston Villa side, where you probably are going to have more of the ball, you need a progressive player, maybe a Sarr in there, a Bergvall, even just to, make stuff happen, some passing into those, attacking areas. Because even without Romero yesterday, we were just lacking so many of those punchy passes into the middle of the park. And that's where I think we just looked a bit stale and, a bit blunt going forward.
Yeah, that brings me on nicely to speak to Paul. Romero, obviously someone that you've seen over the last few years at Tottenham Hotspur, the captain, obviously you've had engagements with him.
Yep.
big miss if he's not playing.
Yeah, it was, and it was only just it was after the warm up.
Yeah,
because I was told.
Did you see anything?
No, I didn't, because I was told I was there pitch side, and then it was as he walked off. So they were all warming up as they usually do, and then he walked off down the tunnel, and then someone said in my ear, "Yeah, I don't know whether there's going to be a change. It looks like it's going to be a change." Then, yeah, can you make the announcement? He's not going to play. So how bad it is. I mean, I said, are Argentina playing at home next week? Oh, that's just I'm just kidding. That's just a joke.
No, he gets jets home now for us.
Yes, I know.
I love it.
We pay for it as well. So
I
don't care. I'll put the money in. I'm quite happy to do that.
I'll happily chip in as well. But yeah, with Romero, the other thing is, we miss with him, Paul. You forget how much of a fantastic passer he is.
He is a fantastic passer. He's a fantastic footballer, isn't he? I mean,
he's a World Cup winner. He's our club captain. You know, he's one of those players that I think, with his Thomas Frank, the new era, having him stay at the football club and commit his future, and he almost feels like he's maturing. You know?
Yeah, I think so.
And we have a great dynasty of Argentinians at Tottenham Hotspur, don't we?
We have had a few, haven't we, in the past? We have had a few. The first ever, of course, in '78. But with Romero, I think the captaincy has made a difference to him.
Yeah.
It's almost like, right, there is your responsibility. You are now captain of this football club. And he has almost puffed his chest. I mean, we know what he's like anyway, but we're not seeing those maybe rash challenges that we might have seen him on. He's acting like a captain to me. And he looks like someone that's really is enjoying being the captain of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, which is what you want. You know, especially these days. When I speak to captains over the years and how different it is to be a captain compared to whether it be Danny Blanchflower and Stevie P and Gary Mabbott, you know, they were not only the captains of the team, but they were the captains of the club. Yeah. So it was something that. And let me give you an example. I'm sorry to go off piste here, but I remember we did an event, and this is quite a few years ago, and it was for the 84 team, and I think this is about 10, 11 years ago. And I remember there was all the team were there, and I was asking them all questions. And there was Steve Perryman was sitting in the front, of course, as the captain. And then I think it was Paul Miller and Mark Falco were sitting behind. Now, Paul Miller, started kicking the captain's chair, and Mark Falco went, "It's the skipper." And he went, "Do you know what I mean?" And it was, there's that respect is still there. And Tony Galvin, I remember doing a thing at White Hart Lane as well. And I said, "Oh, you know, Steve's in as well." He went, "Is he?" Because I was going to speak to him on stage, and he went, "Oh." And it was this reverence is still there. Yeah. And that's what captains, I love a captain that will have that, and they will look up to that.
And Coyte's definitely got that aura.
Without a doubt.
And the ironic thing is, with the result yesterday finishing 2-1 to Villa, you look at our defensive performance. I thought Danso came in and did really well.
I did too.
And I look at Danso and I think he could easily be part of a three with Van der Ven and Romero. We've seen him play a back three of those before. We've played against PSG like that. Yeah. And I feel we had a lot more on the ball, like going forward, to be a bit more progressive. I think at the moment, as we're going to come on to, you know, the likes of Odegaard and Tell, etc. But while we're trying to embed these new young players into the Premier League, which is difficult, I think there's got to be another option, maybe using the wing backs, because I know Poro, Udogie, for example, they can play in those positions. So.
Even yesterday, it was almost like we were a bit scared to lose or concede, because there was moments where we passed it round the back, and I think there's been some graphs doing the rounds on X of like how many sideways and backwards passings we saw. And I know the Spurs fans in the stadium, when we're seeing that, you can hear the groans and the moans, and that will come because we want to see, you know, a bit more progressive football. But even like when Vicario was on the ball and some of his decision making, and he's going through a tough time at the moment as well, like, you know, even taking those extra touches and then getting closed down, Villa then knew how to sort of pounce onto us. It is just, as I mentioned, I'd say the word safe, but it's like, you just want to see those moments. And I just want to mention a quote that Thomas Frank said when he joined the club. He was saying that, you know, about taking risks. And at the moment, I just don't see those risks being taken. And especially at home, where you think, you know, I always hark back to our, you know, that amazing Poch home record of the last season at White Hart Lane. And how, you know, I think we conceded 7 goals, didn't lose a game at all. And just how invincible we looked. And at the moment, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium's not really that fortress that we hoped it would be when it opened.
I think, Sonny, if we compare stuff to Poch as well, I remember, again, speaking to Carl Walker, and this was in front of a load of people, and it was at the old White Hart Lane. There's these little things that I often remember.
Yeah.
And I remember it started quietly with Poch. It was difficult.
Yeah.
It was a difficult start. We'll always look back and go, that era, but it was a difficult start.
It was that game against Villa, the Harry Kane deflected free kick.
There you go.
Got us going, didn't it?
But I remember speaking to Kyle about it and said, what do you think? And he said, I'll be honest with you, we're just not quite getting how we do this yet. And it's a difficult thing, especially if you're going from one manager that's doing one thing to another. It's going to take time. So we've just got to try and...
And I think Thomas Frank is... I mean, I'm a big fan of him and I'm glad he's our manager. I think he takes a lot from these defeats. He will go away, he'll look at the evidence and the videos and go, he'll know what to change. Like, he'll be the first person...
He's getting the defence. The defence is the first thing.
And that was the biggest thing to fix. So
exactly, that and set pieces. And I know from someone that knows him, but that's it. Yeah. Let's get this defence sorted. And let's get these set pieces dealt with. And then because you can't all of a sudden go, right, everybody, when you do this, it's never going to work that way. So obviously we have a great start against Burnley. We've had some great results. At home, maybe not. And also we don't want a situation where we're going to have fans getting nervy. We don't want that because that will affect the players. And maybe and we don't want to be a situation where they're going away and think, you know what, we prefer to be away because you don't want to feel the nervousness. Yeah. And when you're on the pitch, you can feel every emotion that the fans feel. So just relax, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. It's to take into context, this is a new process. And 100%, the thing I get when I look at Thomas Frank is his ability to adapt to change. We've seen him change in systems, etc. And again, like you said, he comes out in his press conferences very honest. There's moments, look, we started off really well yesterday. If Kudus is a couple of inches back, you go 2-0 up and it's all different. Bits of quality yesterday from Aston Villa. We've got to touch on that quickly because Rodgers is someone that, for me, Spurs should be going to break the bank and try and buy someone like that because as a Premier League made, going to be an England international. This is someone that we're talking about maybe keeping Jude Bellingham out of the England team. That's how good he is, right? Yeah. And then you look at the second goal as well. Just really simple but effectively beautiful football. A great ball from Matty Cash over, the touch. And then the goal as well is incredible. And as Thomas says, you try that again the next 3 matches, those don't come off. Yeah. So it's just those moments. So I think it'd be interesting to see your reaction to this, Paul, because of course I'm sure loads of fans come up to you when you're out and about. I just feel like the last, and it comes from post-Poch, because we had Poch for such a long time, then we went into how many different managers over a period of time. Yeah. Everything feels like a knee-jerk reaction at the moment, and everything's like, oh my God, like it's terrible. I saw so many positives yesterday, but I also see where we need to improve.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they do as well. Yeah, I'm sure they do as well. It's just, I'm the same, and I'll go to the games, and it really affects me when we win and when we lose, and but next day I'm okay. Yeah. We're the next day now, so and then we can look at it a little more sensibly and think, don't worry. How many games are we in? 9? 8 or 9?
We only had 2 losses.
We would have, for crying out loud, if we'd have won yesterday, we would have gone second. We were 17th last year. Yes, I know that's another argument again. I don't want to get into that all over again. But please no, it's caused me enough trouble before. But it's okay.
I feel when we go out wide, the lack of options to go fully down the wing and try and get the ball in is becoming such a problem for Spurs. Yeah. And it has been in recent years, to be fair.
You even say that on the left-hand side. I think on the right-hand side, we all were hopeful that Porro could be a really creative force, and he hasn't really got going as a sort of marauding right-back on that side. No. I think we're quite blessed because we've got 3 really good full-backs that one can rotate and Spence can play on both sides, and so Frank's got that luxury. I think Udogie was a big miss. He would have really done well overlapping, but we've got to think these full-backs as well. Last year we're playing inverted in the middle, underlapping, so it is like a whole new system that they have got to learn. So that's why I am giving the benefit of the doubt. And the point I wanted to raise as well is I saw a lot of criticism online for Frank and Spurs yesterday, but I didn't have the same with Ange last year. We've got to remember there was 22 losses last year. And I wasn't hearing that same sort of energy sometimes about we'd go a game 2-0 up against Brighton and lose 3-2. And that's why at the moment, I know maybe I've gone in a bit harsh here on Spurs yesterday, but I still see like there's so much positivity, and Frank has had, it's such a big job. Like, it's such a big job for him, and I see people saying he's a bit cowardly at home, and I think it's just really harsh, personally.
Do you think, Paul, maybe because, like, you know, they say, like, you know, living in the future like causes anxiety, right? The fact that we're looking at the fixture list that we've got coming, right? And my goodness, it's a difficult period coming up for Spurs.
I like to say, take each game as it comes.
Yeah, I've heard that before. But yeah, I think there's possibly that ahead of us because, of course, when you start putting on paper, well, you've played Burnley, you've played Leeds, you know, you got the easier team, so to speak. You know, when we've got Chelsea at home.
But we know. But the thing is, it's always been the way. We know how we've done this for years. We know how these teams set up when they come in, and it's difficult to break down. When we play a footballing side, there's a chance. I'm quite confident about that. I'd like to see us play a game of football against the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, you know, putting anybody else down, but we know what's going to happen is that they're going to come, they're going to sit back, and they're going to try and hit us, and we've got to try and get through. And the times we've done that, especially if the other side score, we're going, okay, let's try again. But if we're going to play someone, it doesn't fill me with fear at all.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them.
Yeah.
I say bring it on.
Because even like, I saw someone the other day say, like, you know, we played City at a good time. You know, when they weren't firing on all cylinders, they now look like one of the most consistent sides in the Premier League. So you just don't know. Even Chelsea at the moment, you look at them, and I know they beat Forest 3-0. They still look a bit clunky in the attack. You know, no Cole Palmer. So all these sides are going to have their different issues. You know, you mentioned Liverpool already. You know, even Man United, even though they won against Liverpool, they still are not firing on all cylinders.
I don't believe that's the thing, the whole Manchester United thing. We've seen that as well before. Yeah, they might be getting better, but it certainly doesn't mean anywhere near they are now going to go on this amazing run. This is going to come back and haunt me, isn't it? Can we delete this?
Don't clip it out.
Well, I do hope City go on an amazing run till the end of the season.
My title
keep
favourites.
winning because I think they're the ones that I can trust in this season to stop a certain other club from winning the league. Just quickly on, like I said, back to Odegaard yesterday. I saw it online, I think at one of the Spurs channels, someone said Odegaard showed kudos how it was done yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
There's some ludicrous statements going out.
Yeah, it is very, you say, knee-jerk there. I like to come from it from a balanced point of view of, like, I can see there's some things we need working on, but I can see the positives as well. It's just, with Odegaard and Tel, I mean, I watched them against, I think it was France under-21s against Estonia under-21s, and them two are, like, dovetailing perfectly. Odegaard had this amazing assist where he, like, kicked it with the other foot, and I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't know why I'm even trying. But they have... That
was me you kicked, by the way, just so you know.
But they have got that in it. Like, they've got... There's players there. They're raw, they're young. Yep. They just need to work on their experience. But I just feel like, you know, with that forward line, it is just... I think sometimes we just got to, you know... It is just such a tricky situation because, you know, Richarlison's still not maybe fit. You know, Solanke, I still think we miss in that forward line, a proper striker being able to hold it up. So, but, I mean, I still think Kudus was our best player yesterday. He's the one who's driving. He's, you know, asking questions of defences. He has been a great signing. You know, I think he's only got one goal, but he's got a handful of assists. He just looks really good. And I think... with Odegaard, and it does come with experience in this league, you know, you don't have as much time on the ball. No. You know, they're taking those extra touches, and I think that is just their age, because sometimes you're just sitting there in the stands going, just hit it, just bang it, just cut it across, and they're probably thinking, like, it's like his feet are moving too quick for his mind to make up that decision, because his dribbling is great, Odegaard. Like, Tell's a good dribbler as well. It's just... that finishing, and Tell's actually, I don't know if you guys have read it, he's been in conversation with Harry Kane recently. I think Harry Kane is sort of being like an advisory, and he's going to help him on his sort of
Harry
finishing.
Needs to ring him.
So that would be, I mean,
Harry
great.
needs to ring him every night, 7 p.m. Like, you know, like when you used to ring like your nan. Like every night at 7 p.m. Tell, right, I've seen the footage, and a little bit more, because it's hard. Listen, it's hard to lead the line, and you mentioned Harry. But we've got to remember that we've gone from having the deadliest duo in the Premier League of all time, and Harry Kane and Son.
Absolutely right.
You can't replace that.
No,
it's irreplaceable.
It is irreplaceable. I mean, that's it. You say, and this is not, you're not just saying the deadliest two. It really was. Yeah. They're the most successful pairing the Premier League has ever seen. So it is always going to be difficult, and always to try and marry it up and try and get players that are actually going to fit together is You know, I hate to sound like a broken record, and I'm not convincing myself, but it's true. It's going to take a little bit of time. So we don't need to be thinking, oh my God, what's happening when the manager's doing this and what there's. Sometimes, and as a football fan, I do it as well. But you think, hold on, he knows more than I do.
Yeah.
Surely, you know what I mean?
Coyte, we're going to see you about some of your stories in a moment's time. You're watching Inside Spurs with our partners, talkSPORT Bets. Don't forget, new customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/Inside Spurs to claim this offer now. So let's learn a little bit more about the man behind the voice. Of course, we are very familiar with that voice. You walk into the stadium. My son, he literally, we go to the stadium and I go get a drink in the bar. It's like, Coyte's on.
Good lad. Well done. What you doing at the bar then? I've seen him before.
I've heard it all before. Let's talk about your history with Spurs. How, you're a Spurs fan, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So you looking from afar, watching you at the side of the pitch, talking to the legends, talking to the managers, giving out awards. For me, that's a dream job.
It is a dream job.
How did that come around?
Right, it was 20 years ago. I was working for Capital at the time, working at Capital Gold. And my dad, I'd always been with my dad. His dad was a Spurs fan. He went to the 21 Cup final, so it's in the blood. And so anyway, my dad had a stroke and he wasn't well and we'd stopped going to Spurs. My wife is from Norwich. It's a long story. How long? I'm boring myself.
We've got time.
Well, we're cheering ourselves up after.
Okay, right. Yeah. So look, she's from Norwich and Spurs were playing Norwich back in 2003. And I worked, do you remember David Jensen? Hey, Kid Jensen.
Yes.
Hey, the kid. So I was working with him at the time and I said, look, do you know anybody at Spurs? Because, I had a season ticket. Anybody that, I could get tickets through. And he said, yeah, I know. Hey, I know.
He had a great voice.
He said, hey, I know this guy, Mike Rollo. And it's number 3 on the network chart. And I said, okay, well, just tell me enough of that. But just tell me. And he said, look, now Mike Rollo was the commercial director there. You probably know Mike. So anyway, I said, oh, well, that'd be fantastic. Anyway, Mike phones me and I still remember where I was. It was one of those life-changing moments. And he phoned up and he said, oh, look, come on. And he used to listen to me on the radio. And he said, well, come along. And, of course, bring your dad and your wife. By the way, would you be interested in hosting in one of the lounges? And I'm like, what? And he said, well, look, we've got all these players and would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I thought, I can't believe this. So there was, the next week, he said, come along to the game, just come along and see what you think. And then he phoned me on the Thursday and said, Martin Chivers isn't going to be there. Could you fill in for Martin Chivers? And I'm like, what? Are you serious? So, well, look, all you got to do is just host one of the lounges. So anyway, I've got there. And I'd interviewed everybody from music, from film, from working for Virgin, all these stations I've worked over the years. But as soon as I met the players that were in the first, I was like that. And I remember speaking to, I know, it was. And I remember talking to Pat Jennings and I was in a conversation with him and then my brain went, I'm talking to Pat Jennings. Oh my God, I don't know what he's just said. I've lost it. It's a whole conversation. He's going, so anyway, it was all like this. I was so nervous and I didn't know what to do and how to deal with it. Anyway, then they said, look, can you do an interview on the stage with the man of the match at the time? So I said, yeah, that's fine. And I was all over the place. Got up there and did it because that was what I did and it was fine. And then they said, can you come back next week? Can you come back? And then that was it. And then it got to the point where they said, can you do an interview on the pitch for the first time? And they said, it's an interview with David Ginola. And again, I was like, oh, could you interview? And I'm like, yeah, fine. I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to handle this? So these were in the days when there just used to be the screen up at the top and there was a camera from the top, so we didn't have the close-up camera. And they said, right, go on, off you go. So I walked into the middle and being a Spurs fan all my life, I had no idea what an emotional, almost religious experience it was going to be for me because as I put my feet on the grass, everything started rushing. And I swear, I've never passed out in my life. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to pass out because everything started going like that. And as I walked into the middle, I could see myself walking and I thought, I don't know how to walk. And I'm doing like this. So anyway, and then I looked up and there's David Ginola going, my friend, like this, right in front of me. And it was like, my God. So then I did the interview and that was fine. So it just went on from there. So I've been getting away with it ever since. But it's it's an absolute dream because I've met everyone, apart from Bill Nick, who sadly died the week I began there.
Oh.
I met them all. And it's been sat with Dave Mackay watching a game once, and it's been amazing.
And it's amazing you say that. And as I mentioned, you know, my son and, you know, growing up, going over to Spurs, you've become such a part of everyone's regime of a weekend, going to Spurs and being that voice and that soundtrack, you know, to the point of the thought of you not being there for us fans was something like, oh, you know, we love Coyte. So like you say, I think, you know, it's almost like you're our 12th man at times.
Oh, bless you. That's really kind. But I honestly see, I think I've seen other people do the job and they're, you know, they feel that. And you can say, but I'm a fan first and foremost. When someone said to me, "Are you a fan of Spurs?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
It means...
It doesn't come across at all, does it?
But that's the thing. It means everything because that's it. It takes me back when we did the finale on the last day.
Oh, wow. I was
on the last day of
speaking about that, yeah.
And I wrote, and they said, right, well, you've got to give the speech, you do the speech. And I wrote these lines. And my dad had died, I think it was like 3 months before that. And I wrote, it just came to me, and I wrote, this is what this means to me. And it was the passing of, I can't remember the words, you know, word for word, but it was about the fact that it's the love of the club that passes through families, and that the fact that it brings like sons and fathers, just like I do with my son now and I did with my dad, and there's daughters and mums and whole families, and it means so much. So I wrote this thing and that was it. And so as we say goodbye to White Hart Lane, the world famous home of the Spurs, and that was it. And then they said, well, yeah, you can do it. And I didn't expect that. There was a whole nother bit after that, all about the game is about glory and stuff like that. But it was just right. And I remember on the day that they said that, there was a lady called Emma who was head of marketing at the time. And we had a rehearsal the day before. And I remember her saying to me, look, if you feel like you are going to cry while you're doing it, I just want to say, feel free. So it wasn't going to be like the broadcast news thing like that. And I thought, no, I'm going to deliver it. I'm going to be fine. And I did it, and everything was fine. And it was only on the last line, home of White Hart Lane. And then when it happened, that's when all the rainbow, and that's when it all started to come, you know. And that was probably the only other time I've cried, which was the '81 Cup final when I was a kid, and also in Bilbao. I did the same thing.
Oh, yeah, Bilbao.
Because I was on my own there with the Manchester United announcer.
Oh, was you really?
It was crazy. Because it was me and him and a load of people from UEFA, and all the fans were down below. And see, the thing is, I don't know about you two, but I didn't expect I would cry if we won. It would be amazing. Yeah. But all of a sudden, I just went...
No, I knew I would cry. And there's a video clip on my Instagram of me, a good friend of mine, Hacks, Victor, my dad, my son, my wife's there, and my daughter, everyone.
So you were all together?
Yeah, and I did that on purpose. You know, I could have got to Bilbao, but my son's 8, my daughter's 7, and my missus, you know, everyone. And I had to be to Ibiza the next day. And when I first looked, there was no flight to Ibiza. Then I looked again, and there was one. And I was like, I could have been in Bilbao, but I'm glad I spent it with everyone. And it's funny, as I said, because of, you know, they said the tears that you cried there in Bilbao, the tears you cried at White Hart Lane, and, you know, that emotion that is instilled in us, Sonny, as you know, we talk about, you know, you mentioned, you know, father-son bonding and stuff like that. You were often mentioning your dad to me when he's listening to my show and stuff. Yeah. It is something that's so special and unique that football brings. And I feel like within Tottenham Hotspur, because of the pain we've suffered over the years, Sonny.
Maybe, yeah.
I think, I mean, every time we lose, I go to my dad, why did I follow in your footsteps? But then he followed in his granddad's footsteps. Seems like we always have that with Spurs. It always runs through the generations, which feels quite magical compared to some other sides.
But that's why it meant, that's where those tears were.
For 17 years of like
exactly,
pain.
because if we win anything else, no matter what it is, in the near future, which, you know, hopefully will happen, I don't think it will feel the same as it did that night.
I think it's the trophy it was as well. Like the history we have with that trophy is just spectacular.
It will 100% feel great, but like you said, I think it was that relief. When that full-time whistle went, oh my goodness. I felt like the next day, my shoulders were back a bit. I walked tall. Like, I used to say to people, oh, I'm a Spurs fan for my sins. It was always the line.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, I'm a Spurs fan, won a trophy.
There was the guy who was with us, a chap called Alan Keegan, who does the announcements at Manchester United. That's done for years. And I did a podcast with him about a month afterwards. And I remember nothing of what he was talking about. And he was going, oh, you're a nightmare. I said, really? He said, he goes, in the last 5 minutes, you kept grabbing hold of me going, oh gosh. And I said, I'm the one that's supposed to be going, but I think we were all the same because it was like, and
it was the worst watch ever. It was such a tough,
But if anybody have asked you, everybody says, oh, what a terrible game.
Okay.
But if anybody asked you after that game, what was the game like? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like an Arsenal game. You sit there like that, so you don't know and you don't care about how good the game is.
Result.
You just need to win.
That brings me on to some of your favourite memories of doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I was in Ibiza, I missed it. But that parade.
Oh, I missed the parade as well.
Did you?
I was in Benidorm on a Saturday.
I'll tell the both of you. It was great.
Tell me about it, because that as well, the turnout for that as well just showed. When people argue about Spurs' position in like the Big Six, for example, and you have to remind them of our success. And this is the good thing, especially winning, like you said, Sonny, the Europa League, that trophy, legendary trophy, right? And then it felt like we could proudly talk about our history after getting the newer one, because there's lots of this before. There's a reason why we're the sixth most successful club in English history. What was it like to see all those people? And
it's incredible. It was absolutely incredible. 250,000 people.
Sonny's swearing his head off of you.
Yeah, I know, Sonny, come on. There's the few memories before we started. I remember just walking up and down the high road and just thinking, my God, this is just unbelievable. Then we had a lot of the legends came up on stage, which was great fun because they're really good friends and I've known them for 20 years and it was great to be able to do that. Then the way it was organised was, and I expected is right, okay, what you do, Sonny comes up and he'll bring the cup. Don't allow him to lift the cup. Whatever you do, don't let them lift the cup. So if you ever look at a video of it, as the players come on, the first thing I do is lean into Sonny like that and I whisper in his ear. And people are going, oh, you going, what did you say? And what I said was, whatever you do, don't lift that effing cup until I tell you to. And that was it. And it was so big because that was when we were going to have all the fireworks would go off. So, okay. So anyway, as they came up, and it was like, well, okay, you speak to him, then you bring Ange up, and then you do that, and it was. But obviously, when I look down, and then you see all these are young 20-something millionaires who have been on the piss probably for most of the day.
Wear the sunglasses.
And I thought, this is not going to be the easiest.
Chrissy Romero on red wine.
I know, Chrissy Romero. Am I going to say, Coyte, you behave yourself, son, and that's it, So anyway, they all came up. And it was pandemonium. It was so exciting, but I couldn't enjoy that moment because I was trying to police the whole thing.
Herding cats.
It was, and I'm thinking, right, okay, I've got to get Sonny over. I've got to get him over. Right, it's Ange. And he did the speech, of course, and he's okay, the microphone. Then there was some of them. I remember Richarlison saying, "Give me the microphone. Give me the microphone." And this is after there'd been a point where, right, it's all got to be turned off. I think the police had said, it's all too noisy and there's too many crowds. And I remember talking to a guy down that was on a lamppost right in front of me. I mean, what a job. And I'm being told, listen, you've got to tell him to get down or else the parade's not going to happen. There's 250,000 people. And I'm speaking to this guy on a lamppost right in front of me.
You don't want to be the guy that show's over.
I know,
goodbye,
and I'm going,
go.
mate, listen, we love you, but you've got to get down. You've got to get down. And he was like, he didn't want to be told anything. So he did a bit more of this, and I'm thinking, okay, so finally he got down. But when all the players came on, I remember Richarlison said, give me the microphone, and it was off. And he's going, turn the microphone on. I said, I can't, it's not Mike, do this, do that. Okay, this goes over here. So it was an amazing feeling to be in there and part of that. But it was it was a tricky one because all I'm doing is thinking, well, I've got to get you over there. And then the other thing is that there was, at the back, they said, right, when you announce that, we are the Europa League champions, Sonny will lift up the trophy and then everything will fly. But behind the stage, so you've got to run off the stage. Then that was it. So all I'm thinking is, right, as soon as I do it, I've got to make this announcement and then run off the stage. There was a gap between the back of the stage. It was like that. And this is where all these guns were. And they said, you can stand there, but you can't stand there because that's otherwise you're going to be part of the explosion. Yeah. So as I'm running off, I forgot. So I've got this, I've stood there and I've got bang, and I thought, geez, I'm going to end up flying over the top of it. So I
imagine a Coyte comes onto the Tottenham Hotspur.
I was flying over, I was going, hold on, was that the guy? So it was amazing, and that all went off, and it was just the most amazing parade. And no club, I don't care, no club could have done the way that. Had the fans the way we were, everybody coming out to see it, the excitement, the cheers. And the other thing, I remember they said, look, just can you read out the teams? So I think it was one of my favourite parts. They said, just can you read out every name before they came out? And it was just like, you've got 250,000 people just cheering everyone.
In the palm of your hand as well.
It was just crazy.
The dream
like the
job.
Colosseum.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
So that's a great moment. I'm going to throw you in the dirt now and find out some of the more trickier moments. Maybe handing out some man of the match performances or people's first games and stuff. Is there any particular player you've got a memory that you might have had like they're not happy with you at like? Oh.
Yeah. There's a couple. One, and I don't want to compare the two players. One's Mido. This is the first, I think it was the second man of the match I ever did. And Mido had just signed.
Or in the words of Martin, Mido.
That's it. It was Mido. And I remember. It's I always end up going to Tommy Cooper whenever I start to. It's like Dutch Tommy Cooper, just like that, So here's one for the kids, by the way. So Mido had just signed, and I still remember the Evening Standard had called him the Egyptian David Beckham because his marriage was on TV. He was like such a big star. So anyway, this was in the Bill Nicholson suite at White Hart Lane, and so I'd announced it, said, right now, here he is, he's our man of the match, he's been called the Egyptian David Beckham. Please welcome Mido. Anyway, he walks up with a face like thunder. He's walking through these people, I'm thinking, is he not Egyptian? Have I got his... when you just question everything, you think, what was it? What have I done? What have I just said? What was it? Well, was it? He's not David Beckham. And he walks up, he's going, I'm not Egyptian David Beckham. How dare you? I'm not Egyptian David Beckham. So automatically, then it just turned into, and I just had the microphone, and I said, what is your problem? And he went,
no way.
Yeah, I just came out. Mic? Yeah, on the mic. I just said, well, what is your problem? And he went, I'm not Egyptian David Beckham. I'm not. Anyway, it all went quiet. And I remember there was a guy in the front row shouting. There must have been 200 people went, fight. And I'm standing. So Mido is looking at me with his face full of thunder. And I just looked at him in the eye and I said, you're the most handsome man I think I've ever seen. So then he laughed. And then it kind of diffused it. And I know Mido well now, and he remembers it. And I said, do you remember that time? And that was...
And you were clearly lying to him, because the most handsome man you've ever seen is David Ginola.
Well, no, I was looking in the mirror. It was when I was looking in the mirror, of course. Yeah, David Ginola. Yes. Yeah, David. But the other one was Maradona on the pitch at Wembley. That was a bizarre.
Oh, wow, I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah. That's when he went into the changing room and was telling Harry how to shoot.
That's it. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So, okay, you don't just throw random. You've gone from Mido and then Maradona.
I'm on M. Give me a break here. I'm going right the way through
you
to...
You spoke to Maradona.
Messi next.
Yeah. I'm going round to Reto Ziegler at Z. Yeah. So Maradona was told, look, he said, we've got a great interview for you at half-time. Wow. It was Spurs-Liverpool, and it was full at Wembley, Maradona. And I said, great, right, brilliant. So anyway, the whole idea was that Maradona was going to come out, and he had his Spurs scarf round his neck. And I thought, you know what, Diego, are you a Spurs fan? That was the question I wanted to ask him, because I remember he played in Ozzy's testimonials. Are we your team? And I wanted Diego Maradona to say, I'm a Spurs fan. That would have been amazing. So anyway, he walks through, and this little guy. And the first thing I thought, how could you be who you were? It was just bizarre. But there he was. Anyway, he was walking out there with Ozzy, and the first thing I did was I went to point to his Spurs scarf. I went, he put his hand out. And I pointed at the Spurs scarf and I left Maradona hanging.
Oh, no.
Which is already thinking, please no, because then I've gone like that and he's gone like that. And I thought, oh no, please no, don't let me screw this one up. So anyway, the question is that then I said to, he's there and he's all waving and I said, Diego, it's great, it's amazing to have you here. You've played for the team. Are you a Tottenham Hotspur fan? So Ozzy's with him, leans over and goes, and then Maradona looks back to Ozzy and then goes, because there's all the noise around. And then Ozzy answered me and went, Coyte, Diego said, and I couldn't understand what Ozzy said, so I never knew what the answer was. So I never got there in the end. But the fact, so I think the answer was probably yes, I'm kind of hoping. But just the fact that being in his presence was just, there's still some people that still, hand of God and cheating this, cheating that. But it was
footballing royalty.
It was Diego Maradona with Ozzy Ardiles.
That amazing call once upon a time, just because you wanted some tickets to see Spurs to Maradona at Wembley. Amazing.
Yeah.
What a journey, Coyte.
Yeah.
And of course, the best person you've ever seen kick a football at White Lane was me.
It was. You know what? Because that's where we met for the first time, wasn't it? It was one of these sponsored things. How many years ago was that?
That was 10 years ago.
Was it that long ago? You were unbelievable that day. I fell in love with you as a player. I didn't even know what you did, but it was as a player. I thought, who is this kid? And he's unbelievable.
I did ping a nice ball.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did, first involvement. But that was brilliant. Coyte, listen, it's always great to hear stories from you. Let's look ahead to what's coming up with Spurs over the next couple of weeks because, of course, it's a quick turnaround.
Yep.
Monaco.
Glenn's old place.
Yes, of course. And Eric Dyer.
Yeah, of course.
He's injured.
Is he injured?
Yeah, he's injured.
There we go. There's the first bit of news.
That's good news. Yeah, that's good news. Sorry, Eric. I don't mean that as bad to Eric, but it's good to us.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they got a really good draw against Manchester City, 2-2. Decent at home, Monaco. In terms of, we've been talking about the setups, etc. How would you start, Sonny?
I think we've got to be a little bit more progressive. I feel like a Bergvall or a Sarr in this game, just a bit more legs, because Monaco are a tricky team. I think they've got the Ansu Fati, Pogba's there, so they have got some good technical players and some wingers as well. So I think we just, away from home, we've got to go for it, because we've won one, drawn one in the Champions League so far. So we need to get the points early on the board, because we've got PSG coming up as well. So and Frankfurt away, which won't be easy either. So I think we just got to go for this. I think a win is, pretty nailed on, hopefully. But famous last words.
Don't say nailed on. I hate that phrase, nailed on. So, should be okay.
Nailed on.
Okay.
Not
Of course, no Matthias Tell in the Champions League squad, Coyte.
Yeah.
Do we go straight back to Richie being the main guy?
I would have thought so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I would have thought so. I'm with you, Sonny. I think it's a win in Monaco. I really do. And and also don't forget, I won't mention the home form, but we have the best away form in the Premier League. There is that. And Champions League, we'll be okay. I'm very confident. I know you expect me to say that, but I do actually believe that. I'm looking you straight in the eye. This is not. Oh, look, he's a company guy. No. We'll be all right.
No, listen, we're Spurs fans. We want to be positive and we want to give people something to hold on to. As I already mentioned, it's a very difficult period coming up. You look at what we've got. We've got Everton away in the Premier League, but as you already mentioned, good away form at the moment. Everton, I think, are only 1-1 in the Premier League at home so far. There was draws in the other ones. Then another big game for us, which of course we want to try and do as well as we can in these cups, because I think they're probably the most likely silverware if we can get anything this season. St James's Park away, it's going to be very difficult.
How did you react when the draw came out?
I was gutted.
Yeah.
All the teams you can get.
It's
all
horrible,
the teams you
isn't
can
it?
get. And it's Newcastle away, not even at home. Newcastle away.
Yeah.
But we've seen a certain Arsenal win there recently. It gives you a bit of hope, because
they're not firing on all cylinders yet either.
They're not. No, I agree.
Newcastle, well, they lost again at the weekend to Brighton. But it's going to be a very tough game. I think Newcastle, for me, got such a great starting 11 and a really decent squad as well. And then, of course, we've already mentioned November the 1st, that's where we'll see you back in action at home.
Yeah.
Chelsea. Now, They call it
that noise. I made that noise too.
I know, they call it 3 Point Lane, don't they? The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and area. But I like what you said, Coyte, about the teams that come to play football against us. I think that's when Spurs can be at their best, and that's why we do get results against Manchester City, who won't change how they play and go. And that is why you need, as you said, Sonny, the Palhinha and the Bentancur, because they're likely to use the space in the middle to try and dictate football games.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's about time we gave Chelsea a beating at Spurs.
Yeah, of course it is. What was your favourite Chelsea game? Do you remember? I think, what was that New Year's Eve? Was it New Year's Day?
New Year's Day.
That was unbelievable.
And that was 2015. That was 10 years ago.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm sure it was New
Harry
Year's
Kane,
Day.
wasn't it?
Yeah, because I remember that same night I was performing at Pasha in London with DJ EZ, who's a fellow Spurs fan, and he did a live mix with Glory Glory Tottenham Hotspur into some garage and bass thing. It's on YouTube. You check it out. It's unbelievable. And I started doing some Spurs lyrics on the mic, which annoyed the non-Spurs fans, but we don't care.
It was a great. There's been some great nights, and that was. I remember it was a late. It was a late kickoff. It wasn't an evening kickoff. It was a late. Yeah. And I just remember it being, and that was one of those days where we used to sit with all the old players. Everybody was going nuts, from Mullery to Chivers to everyone.
And it was the night. I think that was the night where Harry Kane really arrived.
Yeah.
He was turning Cahill and Terry inside out.
Inside out, and it was just unbelievable. It's a massive couple of weeks for Spurs, but that's why we love it. And I think we're in safe hands with Thomas Frank. Remember, it's like, as we said, if certain other managers get 5-6 years to trust their process and see where they are now, I think you have to believe in the person that's in charge. And I don't know, just quickly, have you had much time with Thomas?
No, you know what? I haven't met him.
I
still have not met Thomas Frank yet. And this is from away from the club and within the club. I've not heard a bad word about him.
But he's not turned up to a quiz night yet.
He hasn't come up to a quiz, not like Martin Yole did. Yeah, we used to do the Spurs quizzes. Martin turns up, but you know what? I imagine Thomas would be the sort of bloke. If you'd said, Thomas, we're doing a quiz night. It might all depend
didn't tell me soon,
on Danish history. I don't know whether there would be something like that, whether it's the right, specialised subjects. But Martin used to come. But seriously, again, he seems a decent man. He seems a man that thinks about what he's doing. And I think he's a good manager, and he deals with players.
Yeah.
And
good
these
humour.
days, that's what it's about. It's how the amount of managers that I speak to and say, how much of it is football now, some football knowledge, and how much of it is man management? And they're like, so much is man management.
I can imagine it. That's all we've got time for here on Inside Spurs. A huge thank you to Sonny and Paul.
Mate, I've just got going. Are you kidding? We finished already? I've only just warmed up.
Do you know what? And it would be wrong for me to see us out on this episode. So, straight down the lens.
Where are we? Down that one? We're down this one.
We're down camera free.
Camera free. There you go. I knew I'd find you. Enjoy the game. Get behind the team. We're up the Spurs!